told you that I never would. I told you I changed.
Been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Tonight we have Tom Taranto from United Way. Tom, why don't you step up to the microphone? And it's great to see you. We haven't seen Tom in a while, COVID and all that sort of stuff, so it's nice to see you live, and thank you for being here in person. Okay. Tom's going to talk about his proposal and recommendation for the affordable housing on Serpentine. So let us know what you need, but other than that, go ahead and take it away, please. Thank you.
I'll pass this one.
This may be the same as what we already have, so, okay, just to make sure.
So we have the four lots, at the end of Serpentine, corner of the house. So we've been down there several times. James Verdona is the architect. James is the architect for 311 Tenafly Road. We needed to get the site surveyed, which took some time just because of the press of business apparently with land surveyors now. It just takes a long time. But James wanted to have that because there's quite a grade differential as the property kind of sweeps down from Serpentine into the corner at Phelps. So asked James to do some concepts with the charge from you, Mayor, as many units as we possibly could get onto the site, within reason, and having potentially some relief on parking from RSIS standards typically associated with the multifamily development. Reason being is that supportive housing, which is half of the units, there's 30 units here that are captured on what you have in terms of the floor plan and the site map. Half of those are supportive housing, and they simply don't generate the parking demand. In fact, if you go by 311 Tenafly Road, there's only 2 out of those 10 tenants who drive.
Can I just define supportive housing?
Oh, sure. Supportive housing for us is housing, also sometimes known as special needs housing, is housing for folks with an intellectual or developmental disability as diagnosed and recognized by the state of New Jersey. So that could be Down syndrome, that could be MS, that could be autism, and there's a whole range, literally dozens of diagnoses. So 311 Tenafly Road, and I presume everyone's familiar with that project now, in 5 years, maybe 6 years
Yeah.
now. So we have folks who live there who have MS, we have folks who are visually impaired, folks with autism, so kind of a cross-section in that particular project. And thriving, by the way. Everyone's doing quite well. And working in the local area. One of our residents actually works in Kings up the road in Presskill, another at Borough Hall in Demarest. I'm not sure we have anybody yet in Tenafly, but we certainly, everyone's certainly shopping. So back on Serpentine and Phelps, we are calling for sort of somewhat covered parking to make use of the grade, and then going up 3 floors above parking. So from Phelps, it looked like 4 stories with the garage underneath, and then from Serpentine, more or less 3 stories. So the challenge also is with uniform housing affordability controls, shorthand UPAC. On the family units, we have to account for a distribution of 20% threes, 20% ones, and then roughly 60%, 60% of 2 bedrooms. So a bit of a Zynga game to make all the floor plans work, along with the supportive housing. So that's what you have before you. You can see the first floor, some activities and some mechanicals on the first floor, elevator, of course, and then our representation on the ground floor, and then above that, which would be the first floor building, Serpentine, more or less that grade, and then a typical floor plan, which would then go up 2 more stories above. And you can see how it plays out. One of the things we might look to do on this, to increase the community space, we're doing it in another project, is to create a roof deck in addition to the community room. And James did some elevations, which I might have shared them with you in an earlier version. I'm not too happy with them. I think James might have been a little too inspired by our neighbor. This kind of looks a little like a mausoleum to me. I want something that's a little bit warmer. And he did a little take, tough with with kind of the square, but I'd like to warm it up a little bit more. So I left the elevations off to the side and really just wanted to concentrate on the floor plans. So I'll stop in case anyone has any questions. Yes, Councilor.
Just a quick question. Where did you get the square footage the 123?
So I think he might have probably over to. Typically, you may not have gone that far, but typically our one bedrooms are in the 700, 725 square foot vicinity, 2s, 950, 3s around 1,100 square feet.
And this is getting in the most amount that you can, I know that we do one back charge with the
Yeah, and with, enough elbow room, enough, space in the common areas. On the supportive, those units, require wider hallways, larger turnarounds in the bathrooms, because they have to be fully ADA compliant and account for someone who may be a wheelchair user. So that also kind of eats up some of the square footage.
Go ahead, Jeff, then Lauren.
I love the concept. It's really great. Thank you for all the work on it. My only question is, I thought you said something about it would appear 3 floors from Serpentine?
3.5 houses.
3.5, because I'm looking, you have a garage, you have a ground floor plan, and then typical apartment floors 2 through 4.
4.
So that would be...
5 from Phelps, right? Yeah, 5 from Phelps, forgive me, 5 from
And
Phelps.
so 4 from Serpentine?
Correct.
Okay, big difference.
Yes, sorry, I was thinking so far, I was thinking 4, and then we were going.
Right. Lauren, you had a question?
Thank you for the addition of the floors, because I know last time I asked to actually go up. So I appreciate that, obviously trying to maximize what we can provide in this community. My question really is the garage now. We are seeing, especially, I think last time we saw you was pre-Ida. Now we're post-Ida, very different worlds in terms of flooding. And has any studies been done on water flow there? I know we briefly spoke about it last time, but so really that's my question. Is there any concern of flooding or flooding our neighboring property here, which obviously nobody would want to do?
Correct. So we walked the site with potentially our GC, along with the engineer and the architect. So it's actually an elevated site. Everything casts down to D. So we're not concerned about
Flooding site.
We're not concerned about flooding on site. In terms of the runoff and what we might create in terms of our project, that would require. The typical kind of stormwater management system to make sure we capture everything on our site. Detention basins, things of that nature. Once we fully get into it with the engineer, there has to be a full plan to account for all of that. But we are, what is it? Probably 100 yards away from the railroad tracks and the brook on the other side. So we weren't concerned that we were in any kind of flood hazard.
I know we briefly touched about it, but now post-Ida, I'm asking again.
The 100-year storm is a 5-year storm now to a certain extent, but we think we're pretty safe where we are. Elevated enough we can support the progress.
Can you talk a little bit? I'm sorry, Julie. You go first.
So I'm not sure if you can tell, there's like a couple of questions regarding height. And you had just previously mentioned about possibly thinking of a rooftop recreation area. That would increase the height even more. So what if we really, we have a few masters to serve at the same time.
Right.
So I don't know that we're looking to go even taller. So.
Well, the deck would not be additive. The deck, you're going to have a flat roof. So, and one of the things that we were talking about, what I looked at with James, is so it doesn't have that office building feel, so to speak, and so squarish to have some crenellations around that kind of mask. And when you do that, it kind of creates a natural sort of railing, if you will, a barrier. So it would be interior, you don't want folks so close to the edge, but we create an interior space. And, with locating the venting and perhaps some of the mechanicals, it's not going to be a full deck on the roof, but enough of an open area. This would be some nice views then. And then in terms of the height, there's an office building directly behind us on Phelps, attorney's office. And then the former bar method, that building, which I think is, that might be great. So really not, mostly commercial uses around us. So I don't think the height necessarily poses a sort of a intrusion, if you will, on the aesthetic of the neighborhood. But that said, and because it is such a commercial area, it kind of like warm the building up as much as possible in terms of its exterior.
Benu?
So in terms of actual foot height, or how tall are we talking about for a Phelps side and then
So, these are just rough. I just really want to kind of get your view on the concepts, but we're looking probably at about, on the Serpentine side, probably about 45, 46 feet, I'm going to say, and then on the Phelps side at the lower end, closer to 54, 55, because it grades down. It's about
That's because of the way the land is situated?
Yeah, so the high point, if you will, is to the north with, I think it was lot number 4, might have been, I think lot number 1 is at the corner, I might have to go first, but lot number 4, to the corner of lot number 4 to the corner of lot number 1 where it touches Phelps is if I remember correctly, 10 or more, in terms of drop.
10-foot elevation drop.
Elevation, great. It goes lower as Serpentine goes to Phelps, and then it drops.
So,
Go ahead.
At
Of
the
course.
moment, it's not, it would require various different subplans to find it would require. For height, but what else? Any other expected?
I think potentially, aside from height, it's I don't know, we need a use, I don't think we need a use variance, right? It's a single-family
what?
zone, it might, the ordinance might have to change.
Density, maybe?
Density.
We're kind of guessing without,
Yeah.
site plan.
No, right.
And then a waiver probably from RSIS standards on the parking. We're contemplating that we might need some dedicated off-street parking, perhaps 4 or 5 spaces to be determined, because 6 of the spaces in the parking lot are tandem. Not an issue necessarily, particularly with the 3 bedroom units, but we may need some off-site.
Well, for the 30, sorry.
No, go ahead, finish the line of questioning.
The 30 parking spots that are envisioned is, so the 30 parking spots suggested by the plan.
Yeah, we're short about, we should have, based on RSIS, we should probably be, there's no RSIS on supportive. Just use the multifamily, so we're short. I think we, if it were straight multifamily, we need at least, 39 spaces, I count for 39. So we're going to be a little short on that.
So my question was, so who lives here? You say supportive housing, and what else? And is it 100% co-op? Just so we all are clear on.
100% co-op, 15 affordable family units, following the uniform housing affordability controls. So, and that there's going to be a distribution of very low, and moderate incomes on the affordable. The supportive are all going to be very low, just by the nature of of that population. And then I think it's a function probably of consultation with David Novak to determine to what extent you would remain eligible for that 2-for-1 density incentive for supportive housing. So when we built 311 Tenafly Road, it's 6 units, 10 bedrooms, but 20 co-occurrents. It's 2-for-1. And that's in play as long as your current inventory of affordable housing, and just for sake of argument, if you have 100 units of affordable housing, and less than 25% or 25 units are supportive housing, if you produce supportive housing up to that 25 threshold, you get 2 for 1 per bedroom, not unit.
So we could potentially get a 2 for 1 here on a certain number of units?
Yes.
Maybe.
And I don't know how many other affordable units you have that are supportive. I think only 311 Tenafly Road, if I remember correctly. So you might have some room before you hit that 25% threshold of supportive housing.
I see.
But, I'm not sure.
Okay. Is any of this designated for veterans, families, or, I know we talked about
So veterans would
that.
have a preference on the family side.
Veterans
Actually,
would.
Also on the supportive housing side as well. They would have an automatic preference if they made that application. So there is a rub to talk about on this, unless anyone had any other more questions about it.
Questions from council? Of course.
Sorry, Tom, do you mind just seeing which bedrooms are for which use? So we, generally 3 bedrooms are like all the family ones, but just to break down what the 15 and 15 are.
So on the, what we were thinking roughly, Wendy, on the supportive would be 11 ones and 4 twos. You see how that, no 3 bedrooms for the supportive. There's always 1s or 2s, and there's a preference for 1s. So, when we figure it out, we'll have to, because we're going to have we're going to have 1 bedrooms for families, we're going to have 2 bedrooms for families as well. So once we satisfy you, have to see what goes. We may get some, we may negotiate with our friends at Fair Share a little bit too.
Lauren?
For the supportive units, like caretakers and people who are coming in, I don't really see guest parking. Is that what you're envisioning as the off-street?
So what we're thinking is on the, yes, for the off-street, but we're also thinking that the 30 units that are, 30 parking spaces that are identified here, the supportive, if our current run rate, we're now up to something like 396 residents in supportive housing. Our run rate is actually less than 1 in 10 drop. So if you factor that in, of course, it could change, but, we have multiple projects now, and we're just not seeing that supportive housing generates residential cars. So I didn't, actually, I think about it, at 311, I think only Molly drives. We might only have 1 driver there. I don't think, we have 1 other resident who drives it. So consequently, the demand on those 30 spaces from the supportive housing, not so much.
Dan, please.
Back in the day when we bought these properties, we were hoping that some of these units could be dedicated for veterans, low-income veterans. Is that still a possibility?
Oh, yeah, it is. They would have, we would do, as part of our affirmative marketing, we reach out to the Veterans Affairs Office at the county. We advertise widely. So, and as I mentioned, any veterans who apply would automatically have preference by virtue of being veterans.
Excellent,
So
thank
it's
you.
entirely possible.
Thank you.
Questions, Lauren?
Not great when reading some of these. The fifth, we were talking about the 4th floor, and then we were saying, in some places it's 5, in some places it's 4. That's really just land eaten by the garage, though. That doesn't give us any other living units. Am I seeing that right?
There's 4 floors of living above the garage.
Above the garage, but then
Yeah.
So,
I'm not understanding, to get higher, are we adding additional units on that additional floor, or are we getting?
well, if they're going to build, so you're going to have a garage on the 1st floor, on the ground floor, elevations like this, right? Okay, then there's, above the garage, there are 4 floors of apartments. What do you mean?
The first floor will look a little different, 2, 3, and 4 will look the same.
You mean the,
Thank you, Wendy.
oh, okay, yes, but there's 4 floors.
The garage floor,
Oh, is that what you meant?
garage floor has a lobby and community.
Okay,
Then there's a ground floor, and that floor plate is different.
right,
Then there's an additional floor, then that floor, both, it's the same floor plate going up.
got it, okay.
So that's why you only have, you don't have as many sheets as there are floors, because the plate repeats.
I see. That's 2 through 4, got it. I wasn't understanding with, when you asked for the 5th floor, I don't think.
Well, he said, 5 floors from the south side.
Depending upon how because of the grade, depending upon where it could look at like 5 or it could look like 4, depending on 4.5.
Right, because part of, from this floor plan here, it looks like if you're standing on Serpentine looking west, the garage is halfway or more underground, right?
Yes.
Right.
That's
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's a little confusing.
Well, we need to see elevations at some point.
Yeah.
Right, it's a conceptual.
You're coming at 2 different levels.
And I just wanted to also say, I very much appreciate looking to warm it up, architecturally, natural materials, stone, all that stuff. I think the neighbors would appreciate that.
Yeah, we're, as you can tell from Tenafly Road, we really try to integrate it into the aesthetic in the community. This one's a little different because of where it's located. So on some level, it's up to us to kind of create a motif that's not so industrial or commercial, but rather residential.
I'm thrilled with this project. I'm very excited.
So what's the next step here?
Financing. So here's the dilemma. So we put as many units as, the charge to change was put as many units as you can into the, into the space, within reason. So that puts us at 30 units. The challenge to that is that it just puts us right over there's financing available now through the Department of Community Affairs Affordable Housing Trust Fund, the state's Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So now just to the municipalities' Affordable Housing Trust Fund, if you will. And that's a pretty good source. We've had several conversations with the person who runs that particular program for DCA. The rules are 25 units or less. So the moment you tip over 25, that's ruled out. Then you have to go over to the Housing Mortgage Finance Agency, which underwrote a good portion of 311 Tenafly Road. They're much more difficult around these kinds of mixes of supportive housing and multifamily, and not as, I think, positive, if you will, or flexible with their funding for these kinds of projects. So that's the dilemma. The other sort of odd spot that we have in the marketplace is that 30 units. Could we do a low-income housing tax credit application, 9% tax credit application, or even 4% tax credit application? We could. We just successfully secured 9% tax credit financing for a 26-unit project in South Orange with 16 supportive and 10 family. The challenge with that is the expense associated with pursuing the 9% tax credits on the front end. The fees associated with it, the team that you have to assemble. So we're kind of, iffy on that. And we're thinking that if we took the units down a bit, we'd be pretty well primed for that DCA financing, and then we'd go after Bergen County Home, which was also part of 311 Tenafly Road. And Home, that's part of the community development department at the county, is kind of bulked up a bit with additional funding through the American
Rescue, right.
And they've always been, very, very supportive of our projects, particularly the supportive, when you have the supportive of the family. And then the Federal Home Loan Bank also is interested in supportive and family projects. Just funded a project of ours in Ridgewood, and also a project in Hohokus that is supportive and family. So I'm raising this because I'm putting feelers out. DC, I've already had a conversation with Larissa Luciani, is the head of that program, and she was, particularly liked this project. Have feelers out to the Housing Mortgage Finance Agency and don't have anything back yet that tells me whether it's green light or red light with them, or if they're troubled about it. But I wanted to raise this because, I may want to come back to you and say, I'm not as confident of HMFA as I am of DCA.
So just for clarity, so you might come back and say you'd rather have 25 units than 30 units? Okay. So just to ask the question bluntly, are you going to come back at any point and ask us for money?
I would if the only road available to us was a tax credit application.
Right.
That would put us into next year to pursue that. The deadline for submission for tax credits for this year is August. And there'd be an awful lot of work to do to try to get through site plan and so on by August. And that's going to be a significant upfront expense that I'd ask you to share with us, because we're talking probably in the vicinity of $350,000 to $400,000 to mount the 9% tax credit application. All of that is reimbursable, should you be awarded the tax credit.
So there's a lot of unknowns.
A lot of unknowns.
Okay.
So on South Orange.
What? Well, what's wrong?
So, can I just go back to the 25?
Sure.
Question. So, with the units and the credits, is it 25 co-credits, or is it 25? Is it 25 units? Because like, would a 2-bedroom be considered 2 or 1?
So, in COA terms, an affordable family unit, whether it's 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, or 1 bedroom, is 1 unit.
Okay.
If you are eligible,
For the 2 for 1.
no, I take that back. in the supportive housing side, a 2-bedroom is 2 credits, a 1-bedroom is 1 credit. If you are eligible for the incentive, so to speak, the 2-bedroom is 4 credits, the 1-bedroom is 2 credits. So the supportive housing, from a COA perspective, is measured by the bedroom. The affordable family is measured not by the bedroom, but simply by the unit, and the bedrooms don't matter.
I mean, as I look at your first floor plan, obviously you said you want to maximize more community space, and it would make sense, to consider because of the drop to 25 right there.
Well, we wouldn't want to eliminate the community space.
No, I want to increase the community space.
Oh, yeah.
Eliminate the bedroom right next to it, and that's a 2. I guess I have to understand again how that would count. Like if we're going to label that.
So right now we're at 15 and 15.
Right.
So if we drop to 25, and then really this would be driven by what's the most required housing stock, affordable housing stock that the borough needs, and I believe it's family.
Yeah.
So if we were to reduce by 5, maybe we would reduce supported by 3 and family by 2. So you wind up with 13 and 12, or 14 and 11, 14 prevalence on family.
Well, I think what we have to do is kind of make a decision at some point we have to make a decision to start going down the road. And then it's going to be him and his team's job to figure out what's what, right?
It seems like the DCA financing is a more expedient process, is that correct?
Well, they're both, they're 2 separate application procedures. They're both arduous just in terms of the paperwork generation. They're kind of no different. It's just really a matter of the attitude of the fund group.
Would you advise us to go one over the other?
I want to reserve until I have a more meaningful conversation with the Housing Mortgage Finance Agency.
I mean, obviously we want to maximize our COA.
Also, I want to talk to David Novak, because the other variable here is how much room do you have on the supportive housing side with your current inventory to be eligible for, bonuses? So that's part of the negotiation as well. And then the other part of the negotiation is going to be with fair share housing, which is what, they want you to produce family units. Do you have other family unit possibilities in town? Do you have other supportive housing production units in town? And I think I can probably, maybe I shouldn't, but there is another, we are aware that there's another market rate developer soon to come in with a pretty large application.
Right.
Has approached us about possibility of taking some of their, not all, but some of their affordable obligation, and potentially, initially they said, hey, we understand you're doing something, would you put it here? And no, we couldn't, not without, it would not be added.
Right.
But, answered back, well, what if you carved out on your site plan a separate parcel, and then we might potentially be able to build there. And, again, all with the forbearance of the municipality. But could do some supportive there, which, might take advantage of that incentive and increase the family yield here, if you follow.
Yep.
So there's moving parts to this, but all I think are considerations.
Manu, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just looking at the satellite, what are the closest structures around?
So across the street is the office for Mount Carmel. There's the back of, I don't think
The office building on Dean. The office building on Dean.
The office building on Dean, and then the garage on,
Right.
yes, the auto shop.
I don't know, how did that get built?
And then right behind us is the attorney's office. So there isn't I'm trying to think if there's a house on the corner opposite where the garage is. On Hudson. Is that Hudson?
That is Ivy Lane.
Ivy Lane, on Ivy Lane. I don't think so.
I think there's the park and then there's the
What?
It's a knitting store.
Yeah, I just want to say that,
One at a time.
around there a lot. And so I know that like from Temple Sinai, on the walk down to the graveyard, you do have a lot of houses, not kind of like houses, but they're doing like technically Inglewood or whatever. And there's like apartments and people, living on the other side. So that's like going back to maybe where 25 versus 30 to work on that height a little bit. Because it's,
Yeah.
there's, definitely.
Lots of variables.
Well, 25 is a different, 25 would be a different plan, would alter. But I'm just suggesting to you that, where the best opportunity for financing may be.
Okay.
HMFA is a little boxy, they want more information, so whereas DCA, we could run this by them, like, oh, okay, let's do it.
All right, so what's the next step, Wendy?
Well, so as far as the plan is concerned, we certainly do not have room to have more supportive housing at this project than family. If it's an even split, then that works. If it's one more family housing over supportive housing, that works as well. We don't have room in the numbers because of the 50% required. We need family. So if it goes down to 25, the only thing I would ask is that at least 13 can be family.
Over the 15, and, that's sort of
That works well. The other thing is, in initial conversations with Fair Share, we would obviously have to show a construction schedule and pro forma, so I would advise that the council give direction as to whether they're comfortable with the 25, so that Tom and his folks know which way to start going in order to move this along.
So, everyone comfortable, or comments? We'll wait for Julie.
Could you give me a week until, HMFA's just all back in their offices now. I just want to run that a little further, press them a little bit.
We've been working on this for a while, so another 7 days, it's not going to be an issue. So, Julie, the question we're talking about, we're waiting for you to come back, is does the council want to move forward with this? And looks like we're kind of talking about 25 units.
Well, that's still up in the air based on funding.
It's up in the air, we're trying to get, in other words, in order to get answers, we have to start to move forward. So the question sounds like yes?
Yes.
So
Okay.
I would only add, if I may, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Let me, I want to, on the Housing Mortgage Finance Agency, they have, through their multifamily division, they have financing potentially for this project. That's the one that I really want to nail
Sure.
down, and that could be comparable to DCA. Excuse me. The other component of financing through the Housing Mortgage Finance Agency is the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program. That's a separate, and that's a longer, more expensive, and I'm thinking in terms of fair share housing when they're looking at the feasibility of what you're doing here. They know, fair share housing, that that's a competitive process, and that not everyone, you make application and not everyone gets awarded. We were fortunate in South Orange. That was our first application, and it was awarded. We also had a senior housing project in Fairlawn that took several years and 3 attempts before it was financed because of the depth of the competition, particularly around senior housing. Slightly less supportive. But fair share housing would look at that and say, oh, if you're going to do tax credit financing, that's a riskier proposition. You may not get it. It will take longer. So just so you're aware, I don't want to negate 9% tax credit financing, but I wanted you to be aware of what the ramifications are in terms of interpretation by fair share housing. Now, they certainly know HMFA, and they certainly know the DCA, Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and I think they'd be pretty comfortable with that. And they also know our track record, the financing that we've received, plus, 311 Tenafly Road. So I think they'd be more patient and understanding of that approach.
Okay. All right, so so we've got consensus to move this forward. So it sounds like everyone's okay with 25?
If needed.
If needed, right. If needed. Try for the 30, if needed, 25.
What do you mean try for the 30? Oh, that's on finance.
On the finance.
Well, that's for Tom to figure out, right?
We're talking about structurally, if we wanted to go there to 25.
Well, I think, Councilman, what I'm suggesting is if I don't get the right kind of feedback from HMFA for the 30 units, my fallback would be to say, let's go with DCA and make application there. Can't do both, it's one or the other, and their rule is 25 or less. They have a special...
And that would be a revised plan.
That would be good, that would reduce this by, slightly revised, take down more units, rejigger it a little bit, potentially take 4 down. Or at minimum, here's the argument, if you want half a 4, you might as well build a full 4, so what I charge James with doing is, bring it down. And then, what I look for on that potentially is to maybe eliminate one of the 3 bedrooms if possible, because they take up so much space and you try to stack them and maybe just go with 2, 3 bedrooms. So let me play with that.
Yep.
But the state's Affordable Housing Trust Fund is fully funded, and they're motivated to get those dollars out. It's a new source of money for DCA. So they play well with others on this.
Okay.
So I have a different take than what was just discussed. I mean, for me, I liked your idea of improving the community space within the building. So I'm fine with the floor plan as is and the height. I personally am fine with that. I would love to see maybe on the first floor, like I said, a re-envisioning of community or, things that the residents who will live there can use. So that's just another option that maybe we can...
No, your point's well taken. Typically, we like to have outdoor space. We're very limited here on that, which is why I was mentioning maybe a roof deck, because on 311 Tenafly Road, we had that whole courtyard. So in order to get to that, we were thinking, well, outdoor space, we have an entire roof, within limits that we could probably do some things with at low cost and no additional force. So,
I'm fine with that.
yeah, both and maybe.
All right, so do you have clarity?
I do.
On what to do?
I do, and I appreciate your patience. We're playing with some concepts and with some funding possibilities, but I would say within a week I'll get a better read.
So in about a week or so, we'll have a sense from you of where it's going to go. Okay. All right, great.
Okay.
Then we'll have another conversation. Wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Good to see you too. Okay, next on the agenda is the Bergen County Open Space Trust Fund Grant. Jimmy, you're going to talk to us about this?
Wait, hold on, send it. I'm going to put a light.
I didn't realize
I'm
this.
going to put somewhere over here.
All right. Are you talking about this, or is? Yeah. All right, Jimmy, why don't you tell us about this?
Yeah, so at the last meeting, Andy Hippolyte was here at the past two meetings discussing this grant opportunity through the county. And one idea that was brought up was installing bathrooms in, I believe it was Walnut Park.
Yeah.
Maybe
Is yours
don't press
not
it.
female?
Yeah.
So we had Andy come speak at the last two meetings on this grant opportunity, and the one project that was posed was installing and building a structured bathroom at Walnut Park. And that is something, a new structure would not be covered by this grant opportunity, only if it was an upgrade to an existing structure. So that unfortunately is not, not a project we're able to pursue. If there's something else, being in line with the deadline for the letter of interest, we would have to really decide by something. If we wanted to go, wanted to submit an application, we have the proposal ready for Andy, but obviously this is something that we should, have a project in mind. I think by the next meeting at the latest, to submit it within the timeline.
We have anything from older budgets we cut out, maybe?
Yeah, bathrooms in the youth center.
For upgrades?
In the center for open space? Is that correct?
Hold on. What did he say?
Could you repeat that, Adam?
Repeat that, Adam?
A recommendation for the municipal field.
Jimmy shared something with you.
For municipal field upgrades for the bathrooms.
Okay, I could ask her if that's something we would like to pursue. I could get more info.
We didn't want that plan. She wanted to do the fencing and everything. I think we gave you that answer.
Correct, yeah.
All right. So how about if we do this? How about if we have till the next meeting, Jimmy comes up with a list of potential projects, and if any council members have potential projects, send him an email then we have the list rather than try to brainstorm here.
We definitely have a list somewhere.
Yeah, whatever your suggestions are, submit them to Jimmy, and then we'll have a list to go down and pick one.
Jimmy, can you just give us the parameters again of what would be included, what wouldn't?
Yeah, I could send the detailed information out with what pretty much outlining the requirements and guidelines and what's eligible, what's not eligible. Hmm?
I don't know, like, what is ineligible to you.
I remember the floodplain.
That is
things like that,
correct.
big thing, trying to get areas that not flood.
Maybe we just shore up the brook everywhere with a lot of,
That would definitely.
I'm all for that, Julie. I don't know what we own and what we don't own.
Okay, so just should we do the resolution for Colliers tonight, or just include it on the next meeting's agenda?
So the resolution that would be considered tonight would be just to authorize the grant, for them to be the ones to write the grant. The resolution is not specific to what.
So yeah, we should do it.
The project is.
Okay, so we'll leave it on for tonight. And if for some reason we decide not to do it at the next meeting, we just don't sign the contract. Okay.
Company.
Okay, so, pardon me? Okay. Next item on the agenda, 2022 budget hearing schedule update. Susan or Jimmy?
There's a fan.
So,
So
Aaron,
old,
we looked
I
at
can't
the hearing schedule,
Okay, you
and
need it.
Jimmy, let Jimmy know if it was.
There's a motor part, it's so old, they can't get it.
I didn't receive a response from the governing body regarding the budget hearing schedule. So it's up to the governing body at this moment in time to agree with the time and date of the, if you have any issues with what's been presented.
So, big question, is everyone good with this? Go ahead.
Again, we don't have that much time for everything, and I kind of want to see some of these in an hour, because then we just get off schedule. and this is a tight schedule before we have to pass the budget, so we're not going to be able to throw in some extra days here or there. Again, right after this is like spring break, holidays, and Easter, Passover kind of thing. So I just don't want us to, I just think we should have a lot more time. Like, I hate to make us sit in our hall all day, but I think this is too tight of a, you know, again, we have capital on the first day. I don't see capital, usually we throw capital again back on the last day.
Capital's already in twice, and so capital is the last meeting on March 26th, so we can...
Actually, I was going to wait till the end of, to be considered, since you brought it up, to propose the special meeting for Tuesday, March 15th, to discuss the capital plan and also to make an amendment to, or to adopt an ordinance for an amendment made to the OPEIU ordinance we're going to try to adopt tonight.
I mean, usually capital.
Or announce,
capital's in the
introduce
last
tonight.
place. It needs to be on the last day.
So can I just,
Go ahead, Susan, please.
so generally, those are the dates that I want to have the hearings on, but if we're going to move capital to a special meeting, then I'll revise that, and I'd like everybody to know that sometimes some of the department heads may not be able to go during that time, and I'm going to have to switch different department heads around. So basically, those dates are the dates. And I don't know, generally we have about 4 budget hearings, but with the capital, we'll have a 5th.
Correct.
And really, when you start getting into more than that, it's too many.
That's fine, as long as we're doing that designated capital, because again, to pass the capital on either the first or the second meeting seems silly before we talk to, you know, 12 departments. The capital should always be towards the end,
So we
because
could,
they're all gonna have asked.
okay, I could change things around, but I think we need one meeting specifically for capital, because it takes a very long time with a preliminary meeting.
Right.
And then if you'd like, I could take the other 2 out and move it somewhere else.
To the last meeting.
Yeah.
Switch some stuff.
And I could have that ready for next week.
Right. So Venu, go ahead.
And so I agree with the Susan's idea, you know, having a meeting regarding capital first, so that we can get an idea of what we're looking into, what's in the event. And then instead of on Tuesday having the capital meeting there, then shift, trying to move things around so that we open up the last day and have capital towards the end of that last day.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question becomes then simply, are these days and these time frames fine, subject to things moving around, column A to column B sort of thing?
Correct.
Okay.
That's fine.
We're adding the 15th.
Yeah. Yes. We are adding it.
And please know that I have to still speak with the auditor, because he will come in forward prior to introduction.
So that's at the end.
Can we meet earlier? Like, can anyone make, not sort of like, I just don't want to go to midnight talking about capital.
Well, then we need to be efficient with our time.
Well, it's 6 o'clock is the start time on the weekend.
6 o'clock.
Right.
Well, you guys haven't told me how early can people start?
6 is good.
6:30?
I think we need a good 2 hours to capital. 2 hours.
For the special meeting?
15.
For the 15th.
It's not bad.
What?
2 hours for the 15th.
6:37.
Yeah, so that we.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with 6:30 or 7 o'clock. Is everybody okay with that for the special capital meeting? Jeff?
We can take it.
I'd rather it earlier.
Okay, so the answer to that is yes. Yeah, 6:30.
Oh, yeah. And then
That's
we'll
all right.
have the end.
Is Adam there?
That's going to be one.
That's on.
That's what I mentioned.
It's fine. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Susan. All right, next item on the agenda is the fireworks display. Jimmy?
Yeah, so I want to give Councilman Grossman the opportunity to promote the spend. We did get all the approvals for this year's fireworks display, so I just wanted to pass that to Councilman Grossman to be able to give those details, so we can put it out there, start publicizing it.
Excellent, thank you. Also, we are looking into having music as part of it again, but not as long as we went in September. that we might have one performer, two performers prior. We actually have had a possibility of one performer who will do a double concert. One first half more children oriented, and the second half less children oriented. Let me put it that way. She just came out with a children's book and wants to perform for kids. It's phenomenal.
Yes.
So I love it. I love the music. Fireworks are great. But can we, it's so early, it's so early, you're scheduling it on the 25th. It's almost like a week before 4th of July. It's too early to me. I mean, I just.
No one's in town.
So here's the problem. The following weekend, which is around 4th of July weekend, as Councilman Park said, no one's around. Number two, the price goes up
By a lot.
significantly. So
Everyone
we
was
either
around.
put it before or after, and I'd rather it be before when more people are still around than after when fewer are around. Otherwise, the option would have been to go back to September and bag the whole idea of 4th of July, but that seems very anti the concept of
I'm good.
patriotism.
Yeah, June 25th is good. We could be it's early, but I think, more people are here, we save some money,
The competition.
especially more people are here. Yeah.
People will start shooting off their fireworks before or after.
Oh, good point. So can I just also say something? So I have asked for 2 or 3 years now for $5,000 or $10,000 for us to light up the town all through the winter. This is one day at $14,750. I think in this year's budget, you're going to hear me ask for a budget for holiday decorations that go on in November and last through January for a month at a time. I just want you to remember this, that we are spending this much money on a one-day thing, and we didn't light up our town all of the winter.
We actually do a lot of fundraising to cover, although we do have it in the budget, we try not to spend, we do hit the businesses and other individuals to donate money so that we can do these concerts and fireworks as much as we can get out of that. So last year, and we don't spend everything, last year it was about 16,000 that was donated
For concerts?
for concerts and fireworks. So that was last year.
Okay.
And that was hitting the streets pretty hard. If you really want to compare, compare the 40,000 for the ice rink,
But again, maybe.
right? I mean, we fundraise for all different things, and that was an excellent fundraising. This is fundraising. Maybe we want to see what we can do for lights.
Well, that's why I was asking more favors.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Next on, thank you for that, Jeff. Okay, next on to the administrator's report.
Wait, hold on a second. I just want to say also, that weekend, your entire town is gone, because anyone with kids is bringing their kids to Slip Weekend that weekend. So, just saying. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Just wanted to highlight a couple items and add a couple items to my report. The dog park upgrades that are being conducted by the Scouts for their Eagle Scout project is tentatively scheduled for March 19th with the rain date of the next day of the 20th. Still confirming, but that's pretty solidified at this point. I'll send updates. At the last meeting, it was asked for an update on the grant that was submitted for the senior center van. We have not heard back from we haven't heard back from that grant opportunity yet. And I know there might be an additional question from someone in the audience tonight, Mayor, but I don't know if.
We have a senior center board again. But so, just so the council knows, this senior center, instead of using the large Tenafly senior bus, it's become very difficult for some, and especially with COVID, it's become more difficult. We're trying to get a smaller van that's more able to accommodate residents and wheelchairs, and it doesn't need a, what's it called, CPL license?
Yeah, Yeah, a couple items, yeah, correct, Councilmember Dayton's point. So we have been using and borrowing a van from the county. They've been gracious and very flexible to use a minivan. That's obviously, of course, retrofitted for this type of use. And it does allow flexibility because it requires a standard driver's license, not a CDL driver's license, which is helpful. So thankfully, we've been using that while hopefully to get good news on this grant opportunity.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, no problem. A couple other items still, unless there's a question.
No, I do.
Nope, a couple other items. The work at the library facade is going to begin this Thursday. Materials thankfully came in a little bit sooner than expected. They wanted to start tomorrow, but the weather won't be favorable for that. So this Thursday they'll be starting. The library board has been involved at pretty much every step of this process, and we're happy to get this started. And also another project that is going to begin this Saturday is the work for the upgrades at the train station. We recently awarded a contract to Barton Ross, who's a historic preservation architect, for the, he's going to put specifications together for potential roof and electrical upgrades. So that begins this Saturday. And that's it. That's all I have to report, unless anyone has any questions.
Jeff, please.
Yeah, sorry, a question about, I know we had a matching grant from the county for the path at Oresco Park.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we at on that? So we don't, I don't want to end up in the same situation we had with Roosevelt where we need extensions.
Yeah, I believe we were going to, I could follow up with Mike Cassidy. I know that was brought up at one of the engineering calls, so I could follow up with Mike Cassidy on that. I believe we informed him of a way to, kind of what materials and so on to get, but I'll follow up on that opportunity.
Excellent. And then the other thing is, since we were talking before about the upcoming county matching grants, one thing they did change, and Barton Ross had recommended, was doing a full review of the train station, and now the county does permit that to be part of the matching grant. So something we can also consider as a complete architectural review and long-term plan for the train station.
Correct.
Inside and outside?
Yeah.
Full on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forget what the exact terminology was, but correct, Councilman Grossman. Yeah, it's a very comprehensive, long-term, bigger scale picture, just to kind of put the priorities in order and say, this is kind of steps and stages as a whole big picture, not necessarily what at this exact moment.
Yeah, definitely do that.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely do that.
Actually, the train station, I know we designated Elizabeth Cady Stanton train station, and today is International Women's Day, March 8th. Gotta ask for Elizabeth Cady Stanton. What do we need to do for the signage on that, and how do we go about design and all of those things? Can that go into place?
Oh, I don't know about the signage. But that would be, that's something you'd like to task the HPC with, to kind of come up with.
We've talked about it at HPC. They actually were looking to recommend, they were suggesting to me to sort of follow up the same type of signs, not exactly the same, but what's near Roosevelt Monument, those descriptive signs. That company also makes real signs for places, not just descriptions, and I do have that information. Start to look at it and get costs.
And then I have one more. Sorry.
Yeah.
We talked about the naming. I saw there's a plaque that went up in DPW, but we still haven't named anything at the borough attorney who passed. Obviously, still always on my mind. We're coming up on 2 years of his passing. It was April, so I would like to get a dedication ceremony going.
We gotta meet.
And I would like council to pick what we're dedicating.
Am I wrong? There was supposed to be a committee.
Yeah, who's the committee?
We never did it.
So you guys
So
have
what
one.
do you do?
So how about you come back to the next council meeting with the recommendation, then we can make a decision.
Fair enough.
Can I throw out a courtroom if there's someone against it?
Now, let's discuss it.
Have a conversation and then come back with a recommendation. That makes sense, right? Are you done, Jimmy?
Just Alicia's on the call, shares the corner.
Go ahead, Alicia. Alicia. Hi.
Just a quick update to the meeting council, just to keep everyone informed. Today we had a little employee relations, an employee event for breakfast and breakfast. This was to acknowledge the employee for Employee Appreciation Day. We also connected that to Women's Month for the month of March. So just wanted to keep you updated with some of the things that's going on in the borough with the staff. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Alicia. Good job on that. Okay, now we're at public comment time. Audience members wishing to speak will have a 3-minute time limit to address the governing body. On anything on the committee of whole agenda, large groups are asked to have a spokesperson represent them. Does anyone here from the audience in person? Come on up. You want to speak? No? Anyone else want to speak? No? Omar, is there anyone out there in virtual world?
See no hands, Mayor.
What? Whatever you want to talk about, come on up. Just state your name.
My name is Donald Tubitt. It's a video too, but I go by Donald Tubitt. I'm the president of the Tenafly Board of Trustees, which is nothing. But anyway,
Hey.
we have been
It's something.
trying really hard to, as you know, we get the senior center frozen for 2 years, and now that we're coming out of this mess, we've been trying really hard to engage everybody back and bring everybody back to the center. We have had several presentations in the last 5 weeks, ranging from the American Revolution War to Motown to we have a religion class. Now we have this lady, retired teacher who used to teach religion in I keep my name in the school named Rwanda schools, and she's coming over and putting it's an open religion discussion about all the different religions and how it relates to everyday's life. We had to have lunches distributed out in the last month and a half because we couldn't get together, so we did have a lunch finally last week. It was now great. We had like about 70 people. We have fried chicken, we had Mardi Gras, we had rice with the beans, and everybody had a great time. They were dancing. I was in the kitchen working, so I didn't get to dance, but they were having a great time out there.
Someone's got to do the work.
Unfortunately. Then on 2/22 last month, we had an ice cream get together. And we had like 50 people there, and we served almost 5 gallons of ice cream bottles out. And they talked, they danced, they had a great time. Now we're gearing up for next week for the St. Patrick's Day lunch is coming up. So if anybody like to join us for lunch, please come on. Don't worry. Like to have it. So that's what's going on over there. Our membership drive is going on, and we got over 200 people here.
Fabulous. Great job. Keep up the wonderful work.
Thank you for your support. You guys are so great to us. Now I'm going to put it more for the maintenance department. They're so good to us. With the AMSIS group and maintenance department, yes, I want it for you. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Omar, do you see anyone else, public comment, who would like to make a public comment out there?
See no hands, Mayor.
Okay. All right, we're going to close public comment, move on to the resolutions. We're adding 3 resolutions to the list, correct?
Yes.
Bergen County open space, budget hearing schedule, and fireworks display. Yes. Do any council members have questions about the resolutions? Okay. Any questions about the minutes to be approved? Any questions about the public hearings?
Just that ordinance number 22-02, that's going to be amended. There has to be a title to be added to that ordinance. That would be for the Director of Youth Service. That ordinance is expected to be adopted on Tuesday, March 15th.
Okay, so am I going to have to change something when I get to the public meeting part, or just remind me when I get there?
No, Mayor, you'll open it for public hearing, and note that there will be an amendment to it, and then the next public hearing will be at a date certain, which I believe Omar indicated.
Okay.
There's also the public hearing on the current version tonight.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. For the good of the order. Okay. Old business.
Adam?
You do have for the good of the order. Okay. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
I would like to consider an assistant to our clerk's office, a dedicated assistant for the website and for getting information out to our community. Right now, our clerk's office is jack of all trades. He's doing an enormous amount of stuff. But we did envision our new website to be updated each week with news and information and community events, and I just don't think we're there yet. So I'm looking to consider like a high school intern, who wants to volunteer community hours or someone who's tech savvy. I want to know what you guys thought about that idea.
So not an FTE, but an intern, like a seasonal almost.
Someone we pay, I think the question is, do we,
Not an FTE.
so we're not
an
paying
FTE.
them? Oh, okay.
I don't know.
So we have had interns come in and out of Borough Hall in the clerk's office that we don't pay?
Yeah, but I don't know what stuff they would have asked. Like, I don't know how.
It'd be the website, so we say, hey,
Security?
this
That's
weekend
not an
there's
issue.
a St. Patty's thing at Senior Center, and next week
Or
there's...
if security's not an issue. Why not?
I mean, we can certainly look for an intern to do, communications work on a regular basis and speak with the high school about whether they have a roster of individuals that would be interested. That's not an issue.
I mean, I just really think the website is underutilized right now. Again, we need photography, we need PR, we need updating.
So let's have a conversation offline about, speaking with, the high school. We'll talk to the superintendent and run it by her, see where we go with it, because it's a good idea. Okay, moving on to old business, outdoor dining. Adam, are you there? You want to talk about this? You want me to do it from here? Yes.
Great, so let me try and answer this work that's necessary to do. So I just want to share with the council.
Okay, Adam, you're fading in and out? He's fading in and out. Okay, so I think the essence is...
I can do this because I have the...
You want to do it? You've talked about it with him? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Adam, jump in whenever you can. And I don't need to step on toes, but since you were looking to bring outdoor dining back,
Right.
the other thing we want to consider is if we want anyone to have any extensions of this, and I believe Adam in the downtown will discuss it. And so Adam has the details, which I know he can't hear, or he can't say right now. But I would also like to add to that, and this is coming from me, not Adam. I was wondering if anyone wants to consider Sundays making a pavilion idea. Our businesses really, our retail is closed on Sundays, and maybe we make it Sunday dining. Close the streets on Sunday and the T, Washington and Railroad, and allow a more expansive dining area.
Excellent question, big question. I think we need to talk about that a little bit more before we kind of put up our hands and vote, right? So that needs to be, I think exploring it is perfectly reasonable. Any of these ideas are reasonable to explore?
Sorry, I was texting Adam. What was the last part about the tea, right before the tea?
I said, would you on Sundays when the retail isn't running, close
So-
Washington and Railroad to make a
So-
walking pavilion?
So why don't we put it on the next agenda to be considered? And we can talk about it.
Wait, I hear Adam.
Adam?
He's calling you twice.
Going in.
Okay. So I just want to back up for a second to talk about the outside dining, just to add some details to it. In other words, yeah, in terms, they're bringing back the outdoor dining again this season, the same way we did it last time, which was just taking up parking spots in front of restaurants that wanted to do it, would not take up any drive space. It's quite that simple, right? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so, that was,
Hey, Adam. Finish your thought first.
I know that, the outdoor dining, idea that's currently doing parking spots and everything, block, was put into place, because of COVID. I'm just wondering with the issue with COVID kind of, bringing, whether, what did we do prior to, COVID, for, restaurants that wanted, outdoor dining?
Well, we didn't have outdoor dining in the street, so it's a whole new thing.
They would apply for a sidewalk for seating, and.
Right, correct.
They would get, that food if they wanted it. And I prefer going back to that, and going back to that model, and now that the issue raised through COVID.
Go ahead, Warren.
So I'm going to disagree because I think the community feel of the sidewalk seating and the appeal of it is here. I think the world has sort of shifted and changed. I think residents are asking for outdoor dining, or asking for the street pavilion idea. In the downtown survey, we heard that a lot. We heard residents say, hey, can't we close the streets and do art fairs, and close the streets and do dining, food festivals, which are community-based. You know, I personally think the federal seating was worse because you couldn't actually walk on the sidewalk to get places, and moving it more into those streets clears the sidewalks for our stores and restaurants. I thought actually the way we set it up and we, narrowed it and tailored it so precisely at this point, I really think it was working, and I think the residents liked it. I think the residents were asking for it back.
Well, we also had some restaurants that continued doing sidewalk and street, so, it wasn't quite as streamlined as we've all seen it, but all the, and I think the councilman is saying that if there was a system in place before COVID, maybe rather than carte blanche saying, okay, outdoor dining, maybe it's best to have a system where people can apply, and it's a little bit more, if this is going to be the new normal, to your point, then maybe we should just be like, okay, here's some parameters, here's how long the restaurant can apply to do it for, maybe a little bit more.
Well, we can certainly do that. I mean, there are rules around insurance right now, and it's not a free-for-all, right? We have conversations about, look, this is the window of opportunity, apply for your insurance, get your insurance. If you miss the window of opportunity, we're not bringing the trucks back with the barriers. So there is some discipline around it. I think that's a valid point. We can put more discipline around it. There's no, we have administrative processes in place. It's just about editing it a little bit. I don't think that's an issue. Jimmy, do you see that as an issue? Right? A permitting process? Yeah, but I think keeping the outdoor dining with some more discipline, I think makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Julie, last year, they were actually told by the health inspector, by our inspectors, to come off the sidewalk numerous times.
Yeah, so, right. Yeah.
Even if they told her.
Yeah.
Prior to COVID, sidewalk seating, health inspector didn't go around and say,
Right.
So there was a system in place at that time. And, I don't know what the statistics are. I'd love to see what individual restaurant statistics are, or how many people.
If you could just check.
Are you hearing me now? Okay, it could be that, we have to press the button now. But I just think that, if it was working before, prior to COVID, I would like to see statistics on, how many people were actually using the dining on the parking. Well, I mean, this is something the stores should have. The restaurants should have.
I think it's a It's a self-fulfilling thing. Stores either want it, some stores don't want it. So it doesn't work for them. Nothing is forced on anyone. We've evolved the process. Some restaurants do want it because it works for them. How many people actually use it at a given store? I'm not sure everybody's keeping track of that.
I just think that, we have issues with parking. People are always saying that, they want parking right outside the store. If you're taking away 10 parking spots on Washington, you're taking away 10 parking spots on Washington.
That's why I'm going to talk about parking lot. Renovations come budget time.
Right, but that doesn't solve the issue of parking on Washington. We can put the outdoor dining in parking lot. Oh.
Well, it seems to me like we have a consensus to do this again, okay? But with some stricter rules around it. Sure, we can go around the table. So yes, to do the outdoor dining again, no, not to do it. Omar, can you just, no. Adam? Can you hear me? Okay. Omar, just poll the council.
Councilmember Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes, but I do want to add that, Council Member Dr. O'Connor, that gets me a mouthful. It's a lot. Recommendation that we modify our current permitting process for sidewalks to include this, so that we don't have to revisit this year after year.
Yeah, fair enough.
Councilmember Menon?
No.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yeah.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Well, it's too premature to jump on Sunday.
Yeah, it's too premature, right.
Okay, so work on the regulations to
Rationalize it and formalize it consistent with the sidewalk permitting process.
And can that come back to us in like a few?
Oh, yeah, you absolutely will, of course. All right, any other old business?
Is anything on the bottle fillers? Jimmy, anything on that?
No, nothing since the last meeting.
Okay, so we're going to go right into the public meeting. I'll read the Open Public Meetings Act. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL. Oh, can I have a motion to adjourn the work session? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, we're adjourned. We're now in the open meeting in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231. The notice requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I agree with that.
Well, we should. 100% right. Okay, roll call, please, Omar.
Councilmember Dayton?
Here.
Councilmember Grossman?
Present.
Councilmember Menon?
Here.
Councilmember Michaels?
Present.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor? Councilmember Park?
Here.
Mayor Zeno?
Here. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of February 24th, 2022 regular meeting?
So moved.
A second? All in favor? Revisions to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor, it's the addition of the 3 resolutions. So the consent agenda will now go from R22-86 all the way through to R22-91.
Okay, thank you. All right, public comment time. Audience members wishing to speak will have a 3-minute time limit to address the governing body. Large groups are asked to have a spokesperson represent them. Anyone here in the public would like to speak, come to the microphone, please, Christine.
Christine Evron, 39 Leroy Street, President of the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber businesses really appreciated the council's working to help them through COVID. There's definitely a feeling amongst many of the businesses that you're giving away free parking spaces or free municipal property to advantage some businesses over others. We're bringing in pigeons that we've never had before with the outside sidewalk dining, when people were cleaning up their own little chairs and not having trash get in amongst the barricades. They're not a terribly attractive look for Tenafly. We could do something to make, if you want to do this on a permanent basis, do something to make it look better, because it looks not wonderful there. As far as Sunday pavilions, aside from the studies that have shown, or the reports that have shown that pavilions really don't work in small towns, we have CVS open, we have Miller's Bakery open, we have other businesses that are open on Washington Railroad that reported being hurt by the pavilion. I'd really like you to think about those businesses. And as far as the applications for sidewalk seating, every one of the businesses that had restaurant tables applied for tables on the sidewalk. I know because I handed those applications in. So they were all legally on the sidewalk, and people like that a lot. Whether we still need to go out onto the street, or we still have to get out and eat in restaurants, is another consideration. Just remember the other businesses too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here in Borough Hall who wants to speak? Doesn't look like it, Omar, right? Anyone out there in the virtual world?
Okay.
No. Okay, so we're going to close public comment, and we're going to move on. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended to include resolutions R22-86 through R22-91?
So moved.
Have a second? Second. All in favor? Oh, we have to read that, sorry. Go ahead. Poll the council, please.
Sure. Councilmember Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels? Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to move on to the public hearings. The first one is 22-02, Omar, and that this is going to be amendment. The amendment's going to come on March 15th, 2022 to this. Can you please read the confirmation of publication of the ordinance and the title?
Sure. Ordinance number 22-02. It was published in the Tuesday, March 1st edition of the Record. It is an ordinance to fix the salary, wage, or compensation of certain supervisory and administrative employees of the Borough of Tenafly, represented by OPEIU, Local 32, for the calendar years 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023.
Okay, I'd like to open the floor for any public comments on ordinance 22-02. Do you see any members of the public out virtually or in here?
Do not, Mayor.
Okay. Council President Grossman, would you like to make the motion on this one?
I move to pass and adopt on second and final reading ordinance 22-02, and the notice the same shall be published according to law.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Wait, everything all right?
Still need a motion and a second, and then we'll amend it.
Okay, so could I have a second, please?
Second.
And now the amendment?
Right, Mayor. So this ordinance would need to be amended, and it was brought to me, and I determined it was a substantive amendment because it's adding in another position that had inadvertently been left off because the individual had retired. However, there's retro pay associated, so the position needs to be listed, and that is why it needs to be carried to another meeting as amended with the position added in. Omar, could you remind me the actual position?
Sure. It is for the Director of Youth Services, and the salary range for that position, which the minimum is, I believe, $35,000, and the max is $70,000.
Okay, so we're going to carry this vote to the next meeting.
Correct, with a public hearing, and Omar will publicize that with the advertisement and with public hearing as amended.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, the next is 2203. Appropriating funds from the coronavirus and local, state and local fiscal recovery funds program. Omar, could you please read the confirmation of publication and the title?
Ordinance number 22-03, which was published, in the Tuesday, March 1st edition of the Record, is an ordinance appropriating $290,000 received from the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds Program to provide for various capital improvements in the borough of Tenafly.
I'd like to open the floor for any public comment, either in person or virtually. Do you have a comment? Come up to the microphone. This is for 2202.
03.
Excuse me, 03.
Christina Brown, 39 Leroy Street. A lot of these are improvements for downtown, and I had a question on the $60,000 for planning the design of downtown signal improvements. Now, if we're talking about rearranging streets downtown, why would we study the signals now?
So we're not, this is public comment time, not really.
I don't understand.
So I guess from a fundamental point, right, studying, look, we don't have these documents, the details in front of us, but in order to know what to do with the signals, we have to understand them. In order to understand them, we have to study them and have engineers look at what's going on. That's fundamental to the process. That's right?
No.
Okay, so what are your comments then? Make your comments, because this isn't a debate.
You need to decide whether or not you're going to have 5-way or 4-way intersections before you study the lights. And
So how do we decide that if we don't study it?
you need to decide whether or not you are willing to close Piermont, either at East Clinton or River Edge. If you are willing to do it, it has one implication for signs.
Right.
If you are not willing to do it, it has another implication.
Right, so but that's the whole point of the study, is to figure all that out. Right?
Whatever you decide to do, the engineers can figure out. I think this is a policy decision before you can
Oh, okay, so what other comments do you have?
That was it.
Okay.
I didn't understand.
Okay.
Why we're putting that part before the policy decision of what you want to do.
It's a chicken and the egg sort of thing. Okay.
Except it's not.
All right. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Any other members of the public here or out virtually who would like to make comments? Okay, Adam, can you hear us? Are you in a position to make this motion? What did he say, Omar?
I can't make out what he was saying, I'm sorry.
What? Okay, Councilman Park, can you read that, please?
I move to pass and adopt on second and final reading ordinance 22-03. That notice of same shall be published according to law.
Could I have a second, please? Omar, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
No.
You're right.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes, yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
You were a no.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. All right.
Can I make a comment about what we just passed?
Of course you can make a comment.
So just so the public understands, we just passed an ordinance appropriating some of our American Rescue funds to improving our downtown, studying for future improvements, and budgeting for things that we're going to try to get done as soon as possible for our residents. Such as looking into the sidewalks, the lighting, the flow of the downtown, traffic signals, what else is there? I'm sorry. Anyway, but the point is, we're excited to try to use this money for our residents and give back in some way to make improvements for our downtown.
Got lighting, marketing, road striping, planning and design of improvements. So there's about 7 or 8 different things in there.
The public should be informed.
Of course. All right, committee reports. Councilman Park, would you like to go first?
Monday, the Chemical Awareness CAP met, Municipal Alliance, I'm sorry. their programs are moving along. Now that schools are picking up, their programs are picking up as well. Another reminder, April 24th at 1 p.m. is our annual Trashathon with the Nature Center and the Green Team and the Environmental Commission. So put that in your calendars and pick up trash with us that day. April 24th, 1 p.m. and we meet at Hyler.
Anything else, Dan?
Nope, that is it.
Thank you. Council President Grossman?
Leave out the council president part.
Pardon me?
I've asked before, we don't have to add the president, I'm trying to shorten the titles. Just
Jeff.
Council member. Yes, you. Okay. No.
All right.
Actually, it's a dig at me.
Let's stay on topic.
It's a self-dig. All right, a lot of reports. Tenafly presents, Matt. We also have a new member whose name I'll be forwarding to you who would like to be a new member.
Wonderful.
So I will forward that to you so that you can review the person and make an appointment if necessary. Thank you. We have set from Tuesday, July 5th through August 30th, which is a Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we are planning on having a concert. We are also planning on having 4 Thursdays tentatively for additional concerts of more local and newer talent, and holding 5 Thursdays open for rain days. We are going to continue what we've started the last 2 years of trying to have a mixture of cover/tribute bands along with new, exciting, original talent. And I think that's worked very well, and we're looking for those talents now. And as I've said in the past, if there's a certain member of our borough who's moved here recently, who's a Grammy Award winner and wants to perform, we do have an opening or 2 still available.
Wonderful.
TVAC, Matt, I want to highlight that they had during the month of January 59 calls. Yeah, their average response time 6 minutes, and they spent an average of 42 minutes per call, which is pretty impressive.
Yes.
Look, they are tirelessly volunteering. I know they're also looking for their members to get involved. There are openings at Recce's, looking for EMTs, so that's on their agenda as well. They are planning, but a date has not been set for a blood drive, so as soon as we know the date, I will let you know when that will be. All right, let me get to the next one. I'm trying to do these quickly. HPC, Matt. They were reviewing a certificate of appropriateness for 10 Hyler Street. If you're not familiar, 10 Hyler Street is just above as you're heading towards Davis Johnson Park from Dean Drive. There's a house on the east side of the street, so that would be on your left as you're going towards Engle. That's a beautiful old house, but they've had their porch kind of torn apart and are rebuilding it, and they're looking to replace front door and windows. And I think one of the things, the real thing I want to highlight here is that people get concerned about, if my house is designated, it's going to be impossible to replace things, it's going to be cost prohibitive. The fact is that the door that they're probably going to put in is what's the company, Gerlin or something? They're really a mainstream door manufacturer that you can find at Home Depot. The idea is that it's just a 4-panel door with the 2 panels being long and top and the 2 on the bottom short, fits in the style. So it's really an off-the-shelf door, no more cost. And in terms of the windows, they're going to be pretty much standard windows. The idea is that the HPC works with these homeowners actually to help them keep the style of the house at a reasonable cost while doing a phenomenal job of pointing them in the right direction, helping them get resources. Certain work would qualify for either state or federal income tax credits, depending on what they're doing. So I just want people to realize that when we talk about historic designations, oftentimes it's a win-win. It's really not onerous. This thing was approved in about 2 minutes, and as I said, it's pretty much off-the-shelf type of doors, my read of it, having seen the picture and all that stuff. Stigma-free met last night. They haven't met for quite a while. I'm not sure, just things getting together. But I do want to mention that at the high school, there's a student on the stigma-free committee who's a high school student who has done a phenomenal job of helping to organize the club there and get them very involved. They are planning on doing a possible wellness day. They've done Lyme outs the last couple of years because Lyme is a color associated with the mental health, and they're looking for some sort of a full-day activity for a Lyme out, maybe even giving lime green stress balls or something. There's actually those little poppets. Lime green poppets possibly, but they are looking to do something. So that's a very quick summary of all my meetings.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Dayton.
The senior services met, and again, we're still looking for our website design. We're still trying to compile a database of more homebound seniors that we think might need additional resources. And again, we're still trying to build our high school seniors to senior bridging the gap program. That is all being explored right now, and we're meeting tomorrow. The welcoming committee met, and I apologize, I missed the meeting, so I don't have the update. But they did meet, and thank you to Roxana and our welcoming committee, so I'll get that for next time. The Pride Committee, Pride Day planning and flag raising is underway. For anyone in the community that wants to participate or be part of these days, please let Natalie Kavanaugh or myself know. The Nature Center met. Their new pavilion is up. If anyone would like to go see it, it's a new educational area. They have now brought the last owl out, which is great because he was acclimating and was a little timid, but I think it's part of the mix. And again, the barn owl that we brought in still has a second barn owl from nature visiting it, which I think is just still adorable. So we're spotting the second barn owl all over the nature center. They are looking to hire some employees, very specific positions, but they're looking for summer help, for programming help. They are looking for some people who do have certain expertise, so please check their website out, anyone in the public. Northern Valley Greenway met. We have a new liaison, Chad Coleman. So we met this week. We got him up to speed, and that's, still underway in negotiating. And our police commission met, and we are still trying to finalize with our borough attorney our vision for what would be a medical director or medical doctor for the borough and for TVAC. And that's everything.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilman Madden?
So I have two of the three committee reports, representatives here. So Don made most of the comments, and I guess I'll just add on to a couple of things. He mentioned that there were presentations given at the Senior Center on the Revolutionary War, Roots of American Music, and Motown, and others. In addition, the New Year's luncheon was held, and it was a great success. It was delayed from December, but it was enjoyable. And then he had mentioned the Tuesday party, where he said they brought two large containers of ice cream, and they had 2 scoops of ice cream with 2 pieces of candy bars given out. So altogether, just a lot of fun activities over the past few months, past month. Was there anything else? Nothing else, right? anything for the future. And that's it on the senior center. And then we have Christine from the Chamber of Commerce, who wanted me to mention that there's a street fair that is being applied for April 2nd and 3rd. So just to keep everybody aware of that. And in addition, she's supporting businesses to apply for grants for charging stations from, so Volkswagen is giving out or is offering grants to certain areas in this area, and Bergen County is one that is apparently, one of the target locations that they're looking for. So she's working on trying to see what businesses in Tenafly would work, and that would work for. And I think that was it on, so there we go. They're keeping me honest.
Good.
In addition, there was a meeting of the zoning board of adjustment last night. And there were 4 applications. 2 of them were doing really well with the swimming pools in Tenafly, except one was approved. It was a request for a pool for a very large property, but for the pool to be located in the front half of the lot, where normally it would be required to be in the rear half of the lot. And because the property is stretched back so far, it was Churchill. So it was unanimously approved because it didn't affect. It was good for them, for the community, everything. There was another request for a pool, but because already there were the impervious coverage was over, even without the pool and without any additional work being done on the property, it was already far above what was permitted. And this would have actually exceeded that by another 1,000 square feet. There were a few different requests for variances, but that was probably the most what people objected to the most. And so that was denied. There was an application for an addition, and which needed a couple of variances, and that was approved because it was an undersized property, and doing anything to that property would result in having a problem with it. And then finally, there was an application to put in, so they had already installed a portable hot tub in the rear of the house. So they didn't realize that it needed to go through the building department, and then when they found out, they were told that they need a variance, and so they put it in. But where they put it, it seemed like it was in a decent location, and the board members didn't disagree with it. So that was approved, and that was it on the Board of Adjustment.
Good. Okay. Thank you, Vanessa. Councilwoman Dayton, you want to add something?
I did. I think people have reached out to people on the Pride Committee and I believe on the Welfare Committee, so I'm just going to kind of loop this together to assist with Ukrainian donations. Maybe we can talk about that at the end after committee reports.
That's fine. Councilman Michaels, I assume it's going to be a little challenging for you to give a report. All right, so we'll double up your time next meeting. All right, Councilwoman Dr. O'Connor.
Yes, just one of for the Environmental Commission, just want to reiterate, the Councilman Park said that the date of the trash is on. I really hope everyone can join in and bring family members as well, so April 24th. But additionally, just wanted to let everyone know that there was some discussion regarding grants that are that go to the Environmental Commission. So there was talk with the DPW director about what could be needed, and there was talk about shoring up the community garden, doing some repairs with them, and he was researching different lumber costs, and that's a potential for use of a grant, and also maybe beekeeper. We have those beehives, and possibly that might be a direction the grant might go in. So we'll just keep everyone posted. It's a grant that goes to the Environmental Commission, but Councilman Park said that in the past we tried that, that's what, so we might try again.
Correct.
Can I ask a question for environmental? There's always that sustainable work that's done.
Sustainable Jersey?
Sustainable Jersey, yeah. Are you applying for that?
So it's not that you apply, it's a very, very extensive checklist, very time consuming. There's not a lot. Yeah, and it's a nightmare to get bronze, and I don't remember what. I don't know if it comes with any benefits. I don't know if it comes with benefits. That's why it was like, is it worth it? Is it not?
No, generally, so the green team was set up for that purpose, and they have done it for many years, but then I remember the last conversation about it was when Carol Hodges was, presenting it to the green team about, like, do you want to continue this? Because it's a very arduous process, like Councilman Park is saying. I don't exactly know the status of that now. I don't know if we're going to be continuing the green team in its iteration, because its whole purpose was to go after that.
So let's find out if there's grant money involved, or what the story is.
Yeah.
What's the benefit, right?
I know benefit. You get that nice little badge.
Yeah, it's the benefit has to be more than a plaque for people to invest their time in it.
Exactly.
Right.
We get close.
Well, we got to find out.
We get pretty close every year. It's that last inch you got to go, and it's very time consuming.
You can find out.
Okay. What else do you have?
Okay.
You're done? Okay. Councilwoman, you want to make a comment?
Okay, so committees have been reached out to, and I myself have been reached out to do something for our Russian and Ukrainian community members here. Obviously, we all are well aware of our news, our unfortunate situation. We have a wonderful, thriving community of residents from both of these countries whose families might be impacted on both sides of the aisle here. So there's been an interest to collect donations here in the borough. There's been some talk about a vigil here. Nobody has coordinated enough, I guess, to get this going, but I just sort of want to let the council know that this is up for discussion, and just to see what your feelings were. If someone could actually coordinate this and say, we'd like to use the McCandless room or have a vigil, is the borough okay with that concept?
Well, I mean, I've talked to a couple of people who are interested in doing a vigil this coming weekend, and we've told them, the borough is here to help them with whatever they need. We've done other vigils in the past for obviously very worthy issues and topics, and so it's relatively easy once these residents make a decision to do it. We're going to help them through the process to make sure it goes off well, and they know that. That's been communicated to them.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure everyone was informed.
Okay, perfect.
I don't know who else is getting called. I got a couple.
Okay. Any other? I think that covers it. So, can we get a? Could you read the motion to go into the language to go into close, please?
Yes, Mayor. Mayor, Resolution R22-92, at a regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, held on March 8, 2022, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly has deemed it necessary to go into closed session to discuss certain matters which are exempted from the public. Be it resolved in compliance with NJSA 10:4-12, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly are going into closed executive session to discuss matters falling within the attorney-client privilege to the extent that confidentiality is required in order for the attorney to exercise her ethical duties as a lawyer, and that would be for potential litigation. Minutes will be taken of the meeting and released to the public at the time that the matter is resolved.
Could I have a motion to go into close, please?
So moved.
A second? All in favor? Thank you, everyone who's here.
I do the same thing I told you that I never